Thank you so much for listening to the Spooky Door podcast. Before we begin this episode, we just want to say that you can now watch our episodes and not just listen to them.
That's right. We're now uploading all our episodes with video content onto our YouTube channel with lots of various topics, such as top 10s and more.
Of course, we will always maintain our audio form, but now you can watch the episodes.
If there is any subject or topic you'd like us to cover, please let us know. Check out thespookydoor.com or search for the Spooky Door Podcast on YouTube.
As always, thank you so much for being a listener, and we appreciate all the support.
Venture into the shadows with hosts Jordan and Ashley as they peel back the veil to reveal in-depth images into a different realm. One of strange events, places, occurrences, phenomena, and sometimes even horror. Join them as they journey through the spooky door.
Welcome to the Spooky Door podcast. My name is Jordan. With me is always my co-host, Ashley. And on this show, we talk about the strange, unusual events and people who have experienced them. Today, we have a very special guest who has a history of urban exploring. Today, we have on our show, Crissy.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you are from Connecticut.
Yes.
And which has, much like Ohio, a lot of...
Just to clarify, originally from Connecticut. Like, she
Yes.
didn't drive all the way to Ohio to be on our podcast.
Originally from Connecticut?
Yes.
Okay. And now you live in Ohio?
Unfortunately.
So you went from one haunted state to another haunted state.
Yeah.
Two states known for its paranormal activity. And today we're really going to focus on your experiences with a well-known local hospital by you called the Norwich Hospital. Mm-hmm. Which is actually originally named the Norwich Hospital for the Insane.
Yes, it is.
Well, they're not beating around the bush.
Yeah.
No.
And then it got shortened to the Norwich Hospital, which opened its doors in 1904. So tell us a little bit your knowledge about the hospital.
So my knowledge, I've done quite a bit of research on it, but my knowledge is that it was a hospital for the insane. And they had nurses that would live there. They had doctors that would live there. And from what I understand, there was a lot of people that were basically forced to be institutionalized there, against their will. A lot of people, would send their loved ones there, like even if they were dealing with like postpartum depression, they would send them there because they just didn't want to deal with them. And so a lot of them were held there against their will. And I do believe that they did have a tuberculosis, ward at one point, and I'm trying to think here what else I know.
It's all right.
But I think that's like the majority of it is, it was basically, it just grew because from what I understand, a lot of people just didn't want to deal with people that were quote unquote, mentally unstable. And so they would just send them there because they could and just get rid of them. And so I know there was some wards for those that were mentally handicapped. And then there were some that were insane, and a lot of them were held there against their will.
Which was, unfortunately, that was a common norm for most asylums back then.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in that time, it's sad to say that, but that was like the situation where it was like, if you weren't normal, quote unquote, you were like an inconvenience.
Yeah.
It was almost like you were like a blemish that had to be removed. Like you couldn't be seen.
America has a really piss poor history of dealing with people with developmental disabilities.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is unfortunately one of those places.
Right.
At
So
least-
full disclosure to anybody who's like sensitive to that topic.
But it opened up in looked like 1904. So when you went there, most of the campus was demolished in 2011.
2011, I think they started and then they stopped because there was legal issues, and I think a lot of it was demolished in 2018.
Gotcha. Yeah. If you go on like YouTube now, the only videos I've found is from the administrative building, which is still there. Mm-hmm. Which was, I think, part of the original campus.
It was. I haven't been there. I mean, I haven't been to Connecticut since 2010. So, but like when I would fly over, you could see the whole area view of it. And I'm like, oh, look, there it is.
So so how did you start going to the Norwich State Hospital?
Oh
what
my-
got you
Yeah,
involved
was
in
like,
going to
hey.
that? Like, hey, let's just go hang out here. Like,
This is a great idea.
I think I've always been like intrigued by like paranormal and things you can't explain, and I've always been like a spiritual person. So I started working at Dunkin' Donuts, and I became fast friends with a girl that worked there, and we talked about things that we like to do in our spare time. And she's like, "Would you like to go to Norwich Hospital?" And I was like, "Yes, let's go." So we decided to go one night, and we just kept going because there was so much to explore and so much to do that we just fell in love with it.
well, you showed us the map you had.
Yeah, it's huge. It is
Yeah,
like
it's
a college campus.
the
Huge.
yeah, and they
There's
kept
no
building
way.
onto it.
I would get so lost. I would never make it out.
Somehow we made it out, and the first time we went, believe it or not, we could not find it, and we kept driving around Preston and Norwich, and we couldn't find it. And I was like, "Screw it, let's just go home." And Kristen's like, "Yeah, I'm hungry. Let's just go." And then we're at a stoplight, and I looked at her, and I was like, "Kristen, what the fuck is that?" And it was like right in front of us, and because it's so dark, you don't really
Right, I'm
realize
sure.
that it's there.
Yeah, because it's
sure.
kind of off the beaten path a little bit, isn't it?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, behind it is Mohegan Sun Casino, so there's like a lot of lights. But I mean, if you were just driving on that road, you would almost blink and miss it because it's so dark and it's kind of set off. So
Seems like that casino was intentionally placed.
That's
I
right.
can't see it.
So, so the first night you went there, you went with your friend, your coworker.
yes.
So, what happened? Like, what like set the scene when you first show up?
So the first night we went, well, first we were trying to dodge security. And of course, she drives right in, and I'm like, no, you can't. We got to go in the commuter lot and like tuck and roll into this place.
Yeah, I feel like that would be just driving in would be like the worst idea.
Yeah, and of course, like as soon as we get there, I call my mom, and I'm like, we got here, and she's like, don't get arrested, have a good time. And so
That's amazing. Your mom was just like, yeah, go do this.
I think she was just happy that I wasn't doing anything that was really, really bad or something.
Yeah,
Right.
just like I want to go look at this abandoned, creepy building.
Yeah, if that's the worst it's gonna be. Then
Yeah, it's like, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
yeah.
go fine.
It's like, okay, that's your Saturday night thing, sure.
Yeah, do whatever, just don't get arrested, and I'm not bailing you out. But I think the first night that we went there, we came in through the administrative building because there was a side door that was still unlocked, and a lot of the doors were still locked. And of course, there was no trespassing signs. So if there's no trespassing signs, don't go. I'm not recommending this, not recommended at home type of thing. But, we were teenagers back in, 03, 04. So we just did whatever we felt like it. But we went in through the side door through the admin building. And when you first walked in, it was as if you were in like a regular hospital. So there was an admin station there, and of course there's graffiti everywhere. And so we're like, okay, so we're like walking down the halls, and we go into like rooms, and the admin building and the main building was pretty boring. There wasn't a lot of stuff in there, but as you got deeper and we went into other buildings, I mean, there was so much stuff. And one of the things that we found that night to us that was really like jarring was they still had medical records.
Wow.
Yeah, like they still we looked up our last names to see like were any of our relatives here?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Like any teenager would.
So all the paper and stuff, like all the files were still there.
There was like if you went back like off the admin building, like I guess it would still be considered the admin building, but there was like a building to where they kept all the like the keys for like the taxis and like all the cars they would use. And in the back room, there were all these file cabinets, and they were open, and they were full of patients' files, and you could see why they were admitted, what their names were, like what room they were in. And I was just astonished. I mean, there were stacks of them.
That's like
Yeah, it's
that HIPAA.
yeah. I was
I
just
know.
gonna say, I feel like they violated some
Well,
laws.
if
Laws
it
there.
shuts down, well, first off, you're not supposed to trespass, so it's not open to public for
Whoops.
one, I guess. So they're probably thinking, well, no one's gonna find these, I
But
guess.
still-
yeah, I would think like
But still, even if there's a no trespassing sign up and people are coming there and you leave them out, I feel like that's still like violates something.
We were shocked. We were like taken aback. Like, why are all these records still here? I mean, we spent probably about a half an hour like looking through the records, but I mean, it was insane.
I mean, but I feel like that's a perfect example of like how they viewed the patients. Like they just didn't care.
There was just a number to them.
Were these like the more recent ones? Because the hospital closed in like the 90s. Was this from like the 90s, or this was like one of the older buildings that they?
This was the admin building. I mean,
Okay.
I don't remember quite the dates on the files, but I can tell you, like when we went to the nurses ward, there were still calendars up from like 1974, like still on the walls.
Because I know like they kept like they would build something new on the campus, and then they would just forget about the old building, just let it rot, and then they would build another building, same thing. So the campus kept growing, and every time they grew, the older building that they replaced, they would just leave it there and just let it sit.
It might have been old files, but this seemed kind of like where we were was like a hub, because there were there was a whole box of like keys where keys would be for cars, fire trucks, that type of stuff, and then there was like, I don't know, hundreds upon hundreds of empty pill bottles.
Jesus.
So I don't know if that's like where they would like take all the empty pill bottles from being the admin building, because there was like a nurses stationed where I guess you would come and get your meds if you were on that type of floor.
Man, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was like that was the craziest part of that particular night.
So where'd you guys go from there?
From there we went over to the nurses ward. And how do I explain it? Almost like when you walk in, it almost reminds me of like the grand staircase of the Titanic.
Okay.
Because it's so big. And we went over to the nurses ward, and it was literally as if time had stood still. As if people had just vacated for no reason. There were still calendars up on the wall from the 70s. We found Playboys from the 1970s.
Wow, classy.
Yeah, real classy. I was like, oh, what is that? Kristen's like, turn away. And so we had found that, and like the beds were still there. They still had sheets on them and everything. And so that was pretty interesting. And we wanted to go deeper in the woods, but because there's like other buildings behind there, but we didn't end up going into that first night. I think we were just so excited just to be there.
Right.
And so we went back a couple of times, and one of the times that we had gone back with her boyfriend at the time. And I think that's when we experienced the most. I guess I should experience, but the one thing that happened that I could not explain, she could not explain, was, so when you go in through the admin building, like, because this is the door we'd always gone into because it was always open, and it goes in like through the kitchen, and then the kitchen leads into the admin like the entrance of the admin building. And so when we went into the kitchen this time, it was sweltering hot.
What?
I mean, sweltering. As if someone had left the kitchen stove on, like the kitchen ovens on.
What was that? What time of year is this?
So this is like June. This is this is supposed to be the night of my senior prom, and I decided I'm not going. Okay. I'm going to explore instead.
I love and support your decision.
Yes.
I feel like you made the right choice. Absolutely.
I did not, I grew up in a really, really tiny town. So I did not want to be around these people anymore, and I was done. And so Kristen was like, let's just go exploring tonight. I'm like, done. Let's go. And so we went.
Make our own prom.
I know, right? Yeah, it was the best night ever. It was so much fun. But when we went in, it was like sweltering hot. I mean, as if someone had turned on the heat. But of course, this place has been abandoned for a long time. And we'd gone in there multiple times. It never felt like that. This is June in Connecticut. It's not extremely hot out. It's, I don't know, like 10 o'clock at night, so it's not.
It's like the sun is beating down.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, it was really, really hot in there. And of course, when you go into the admin area, then it's colder, but going from like sweltering heat to cold. And I could not explain why it felt like the heat was on. That I could not explain.
Was there any power on anywhere else?
That's crazy.
Mm-mm. No.
That's weird.
No, I don't know if maybe there was power on at some point in that day. Maybe, I don't know. But I've never experienced anything like that, to where it was like we both like looked at each other like, what is going on? We've gone in this entrance plenty of times.
I wonder if there's like a gas leak or something.
I mean, it could have been. That's what we were trying to figure out, the reasonable, like the logical explanation of why there was a drastic like heat difference. Like I know like when you talk about paranormal, you talk about cold spots and cold stuff, but never heat. So I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's really
crazy.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's like ingrained in my head. And we had gone multiple times, and so this particular night we were looking for the tunnels because we could never find the tunnels. We would always look for the tunnels, and so
I feel like right there we should probably explain the tunnels.
Yeah.
So explain the tunnels.
So the tunnels, there was a tunnel system in the Norwich State Hospital so that nurses could bring patients in a quick fashion, or if all the buildings were connected except the nurses' ward and the morgue, I believe, they were not connected to the tunnels. And so nurses and doctors would travel through the tunnels as a quick way to get from place A to place B.
And I want to like pinpoint real fast that like when you think of tunnels, it's not like a tunnel. It was like a hospital hallway.
Yeah, it was like a hallway. It was pretty
I've seen
big.
video of it. So like even the video I saw was from the 90s, and it was still like everything was active and lights were on. It wasn't even found footage type crap. It was literally like they were filming the hospital and people were working and people walking around. And even the footage I was watching, I was like, man, that still looks creepy. Because it's underground, so it's like really, it still kind of dark because there's no windows.
Yeah, there's no windows, and there's a lot of storage down there. So like when we went down there was a lot of old wheelchairs, stuff like that, and that's where we ran into other people. And my mom actually coincidentally had told me, she's like, be careful of the tunnels. There's transient people that live in the tunnels. And it made sense. That's a place to go,
right.
A place away from the weather. And,
it's underground. So
I mean, if I was homeless, yeah.
I would totally, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did find like homeless, like little camps, I guess you could say, like along the way. We never found any homeless people, but that's where we ran into other explorers.
If homeless people lived there, they probably heard you and didn't know where you were, so they probably would hide in case it was like security.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
I feel like though, if you did run into a homeless person somewhere like there, like I just don't feel like they would want to hurt you. Like they would be out to hurt you. They probably have some stories.
I bet they do. Yeah,
that's always been my major concern about doing any type of thing like that. Is just not necessarily like spiritual stuff. It's like running into people because all kinds of individuals hang out there.
Right, that's true.
That's one of my friends, when I was telling her that I was going to be doing this podcast, she had told me, she's like, don't mention to them that I refused to go in. She's like, but it wasn't because of the paranormal. It was because of the other people that may have, been in there. And I guess I was just out of sight, out of mind to me. I didn't think about that whole thing. I was just so centered on just wanting to explore this place. And we ran into other explorers. They ended up being from Massachusetts, just exploring the hospital. But, you really did get quickly in the tunnels from point A to point B. And that night we ended up going into, I'm not sure what it's called, but where the padded rooms were. And so they had padded rooms. It almost reminded me of Girl Interrupted. You've seen that movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of like the padded rooms. And then they also had down in that area, they had like a bowling alley. And there was a theater. There was a theater there too, which if you look online, you can see pictures of the theater too.
Wait, there's bowling alleys?
Yeah, like, don't you remember that? Have you seen Girl Interrupted?
It's been a while.
But there's like scenes where they're like bowling. And I was like, what is, and we literally felt like we were in that movie because you could bowl.
It's crazy.
We would set up the pins and bowl. We bowled in a mental hospital.
If you were homeless.
Well, I mean,
and like you could just live in an abandoned hospital and bowl for free. I feel like that would be the place to be.
Yeah, you're out of the weather. It's, and of course, in Connecticut in the summer, it doesn't get too hot. So it's nice and cool down there.
I can bowl, have some brews with my buddies.
Yeah, exactly. And I lost my camera down there. And even like Urban Explorer websites, I'd be like, hey, we were in the tunnels. Anyone find like a Kodak disposable camera? But no one found it. And so I'm so mad because there were so many good photos on that camera.
Yeah, somebody found it and kept it, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
If I would have found a camera, I would have done the same
thing. So if you're listening
and you happen to find an old Kodak camera in the hospital,
please return it. I'd love to see the photos.
Yeah, if you develop the photos, please return the photos. Do the right thing.
I'd love to see those photos too.
Right? We all would.
So that was not. So you've been there multiple times, though.
Oh yes, to me, it was almost like a sanctuary. To me, I just felt like I used to do a lot of writing, so I would love to go there and just write in my journals. I felt at peace there, and I know, like, a lot of places may have like negative energy, but that particular place to me was a sanctuary. It was away from my tiny town. It was away from these people, and it was peaceful. It was quiet. And I could do a lot of writing and, think. When I wanted to go to think, that's where I would go.
So you went there a lot then?
Yes.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yes.
And you also have a map.
I do. Yes, I do.
Which will be posted on our website at thespookydoor.com, and it'll be on our blog portion, and you can see some pictures that we have, and also the map that Crissy has as well.
Yeah, this was similar to the one that was given to us in the tunnels from the kids that were from Massachusetts. I don't know if they printed it off a line too, but this was very, very similar to the one they gave us, but we almost had no idea what we were looking at.
Yeah, it's a very GTA looking map.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to figure out what's all going on.
What is that?
Yeah, the main thing that Kristen wanted to do that night was get into the morgue. She was dead set on getting into the morgue, and that's the one place that I would not go into. So she did go in with the other explorers, and she said it was really creepy, and like the metal tables were still there, and she said that was really creepy, but I just could not bring myself to go into the morgue.
See, I would go, but like I wouldn't go by myself. As long as like somebody went in with me, I would be okay. But yeah, not by myself.
Well, she went in with like strangers, like from a different state.
I might like. Yeah, when I say somebody, I mean somebody I know.
But if someone has a map, they're urban exploring the same place you are, they probably are like, I don't know. I'd probably feel safe going.
Well, I did ask them if they were
guess.
crack addicts,
Yeah,
because
it's
I was like, wait, are you guys crack addicts? And they're like, no, we're from Massachusetts. We're like, okay, you're good.
But yeah, I don't know. Still, like
This is why people get killed.
right.
Yeah, see, I don't know how I'm still
that's my
alive.
thought. Like even then, like that's like I don't know. It would have to be somebody I know. Like
How
I
I'm
couldn't
still
do
alive,
it.
I cannot tell you.
And then you'd be on a completely different podcast.
I know. Right?
Oh boy. Yeah, the map is really like I looked at it. You could find I found the administrative building, which again is the only building that's standing now. Pretty much almost all of it, including the tunnels, has been demolished. They got rid of the tunnels, they said, to avoid people from pretty much squandering.
Yeah, from like squatting and such.
So the administrative building is the only thing that's left. You can't even go in there now. They've wrapped it up, and it's actually going to be rebuilt by like the historical society.
Yeah, and even like when we went, there were signs everywhere for asbestos, no trespassing, and really when you would go in, you could smell it. Like it has that distinct smell. Every time, like if I go to an old building, like this smells like Norwich because it has that distinct,
Like
has that
asbestos.
distinct smell.
Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it smells like cancer. This is great.
Great. Yeah.
This is so inviting. I feel at home.
Yeah, I think that'd be like my biggest like thing about going into some place like that. I'd be like afraid about asbestos or like black mold
Yeah.
or God knows what else.
I think
That's why you wear masks.
Yeah.
I think that's why they were hesitant to tear it down, because there was so much built and so much asbestos. And I mean, it's as large as a college campus, so it's huge. So you have that many buildings that have asbestos. How can they tear it down efficiently without exposing people to it?
Which
I'm
also
sure.
would explain why they would left stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's like contaminated with anything, they would.
But it's, even patients' files, though, I feel
Well, I
like
feel like
that
that-
would be an easy discard into,
Trash.
shredding. Yeah.
Trash
Right.
and shredding.
Just shred it, burn it, something.
But if you've laid off the staff who cares about it,
Yeah. So
or moved them out of there, so you move the staff who cares about like those people, or the staff who would maintain that, you remove them. So who's left to even know that those files exist, or
Right.
even like what's in those files?
And if they know, they probably, don't care.
Yep.
yeah, that's kind of what I was telling you guys earlier about when my mom was telling me about how would they cut funding for the mental institutions and stuff like that. And the first thing to go was staffing. And so they would cut the staffing so that way they couldn't house the people.
That's really sad, though. That little care, I guess, was put upon people like that. It's like the people that need it the most are who we're not going to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your favorite memory of the home of all times you used to go there?
Oh my goodness. So many good memories.
Of this abandoned hospital. Yeah, I used to have so many good fond memories of this terrifying, creepy old place.
But I think, like, for me, it was just because I grown up in this one town my whole entire life, and I was done. I was tired of looking at the same people. My best friends graduated a year earlier, and it was just an escape for me.
You know, being somebody who also grew up in kind of like a small town area, I understand those feelings, and I can see that being a thing. Like if I had somewhere like that where it was just like, you're just so tired of it, but you feel like so trapped, and it's just like it's getting away from that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially since you've been there so often, you knew your way around.
I knew my way around. I knew which doors were open and like which ones were locked, and so I knew like a way to get in without getting caught, and stuff like that.
You also have in some of your adventures, you have photos of like a lobotomy chair.
I honestly, I think that this is from Norwich. We went to so many. I mean, it could have been from some of the other hospitals we went to, but I think that this was Norwich. And on that camera that is lost, there is a picture of us sitting in a padded room in a lobotomy chair, but the camera's lost.
Damn.
Oh, dang it. So, again.
If you have found a old Kodak camera and before it got torn down.
And if you have those pictures.
It probably got demoed.
I know.
If you have those pictures
probably.
and you're looking at that picture she just described.
I think
Please
we were
return.
like in the tunnels and we got spooked by something, and I was running and I was wearing like a vest at the time, and it fell out of my pocket, and I was so mad. I was like, Kristen, wait, I left the camera. She's like, I don't care, go.
Poor fashion.
Poor fashion
choice. Yeah.
That stupid vest, man. Back in the early 2000s.
Dude, I've gotten run out of places by people and by like things.
I think
so. I know that fear of like you got run either from because like security or the police show up or something is following you. Like,
Right.
I know that fear.
I think we were so scared, and I think it was because something had touched my hair, and so I like literally fell to the floor and screamed, and it was a bat.
Still, when you're that young and something like that happens, even if you realize that was a bat, you're still just like, don't have it together enough to like rationalize like, okay, it's fine. You're just like, no,
I was screaming, and I was like, oh my gosh, something's got my hair, and it was a bat. And then she had fallen through. There was like an attic, and she fell through the ceiling, and I started laughing, and I couldn't help her.
That's the dangerous thing about like exploring.
right.
Is,
Yeah,
like, the
that's-
infrastructure starts falling apart. And the little town I grew up in, like there was an abandoned house, and you couldn't go upstairs. Like people did, but I mean, like you would see the holes where people had like fallen through because like the infrastructure of the house was like falling apart.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if there was still standing, her hole from her leg would still be there, because I was laughing so hard, but luckily she was okay. But she's like, help me up. I'm like, but it's so funny. I'm such a horrible friend.
I mean, I would have done the same.
But yeah, that just goes to show you, like, you know, like when you went into like the admin building, it was like the walls weren't peeling as much, but when you went into like the nurses ward, everything was just decaying at a rapid rate.
Well, the administrative building was the building that they were still using up until it closed, right?
In 96, yeah. I believe, yeah.
And again, that was the only building that's left there. And then you can find videos of it. And you said it was even on a couple of TV shows as well.
Yeah, it was. It was on a couple of TV shows. I believe they changed the name for probably copyright, I think, to like the Weston Hospital or something like that. But you could clearly tell when they show it. You're like, oh, if you know the area, you're like, well, that's Norwich. Like, duh. Because it has a distinct look to it.
And you can find tons of photos of it online too.
Right. And I'm sure that's what they're banking on, though, is like anyone that knows the area knows what this really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're banking on that.
Or they're trying to mask it so they can say it was something else.
Or trying to keep like people out of it because of these
Right.
people.
I-
that's the
yeah.
thing, too. It was
That's
we'll
probably
change
a
the
good
name,
point,
so then if you
too.
look this up, you can't find any
Yeah, you're not
information
going to
about
find it.
Yeah.
except for the information they want you to know about it.
Or except if you're from the area, you're like, hello, duh.
And a lot of ghost shows, though, like they'll film outside someplace and they'll film inside somewhere else.
Really?
Yeah, some of them. It's all reality TV. So
Oh yeah, it's all scripted.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's
you
like
gotta-
any
you
other
gotta-
reality
you gotta
show.
You gotta take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, they're going to make you see whatever they want you to see.
So
That's
yeah.
why I don't like reality television.
So you've also been to some other hospitals.
Yes.
Talk about that for a second. What was some of the other ones you went to?
So the other ones, they're all in Connecticut. Well, except one that was in Cincinnati, but that one we couldn't get into. And that's since been torn down. But the other ones in Connecticut, it was in Fairfield, Connecticut. And that one you could get in pretty easily just because when we went during the daytime, because you could still walk the grounds at that time and people would be jogging.
Is this the Fairfield Hills
Yes.
Hospital?
Yeah.
The abandoned psychiatric hospital that once housed more than 4,000 patients in the middle of a quaint New England town.
Yes. And so, I mean, it's really weird because like you would see like these like,
This place looks creepy.
yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't, you would just see these people, normal people just running and, you know, walking their dogs or whatever. And there's like this abandoned hospital, like right in the background. And you wouldn't think anything of it. And so we got into one building and you could tell that a lot of people had been in and out of it. There was really nothing left there. But the other cool part about that was, across the street, there were all these abandoned houses, just houses upon houses that were all unlocked. Now, there was nothing left in them, but they were all pretty much like cookie cutter houses. And so my understanding was that they were for the nurses and the doctors.
I was going to say probably, and they're probably still part of the property. So
yeah, but they were all unlocked and you could walk in and out of them like crazy. And so that was pretty cool, but there wasn't really anything in them.
they probably got, probably had the homeless people raid them, and I'm imagining.
My assumption, yeah, because like even when you went into Norwich, there were still like toilets and stuff, and there was still stuff like that. But when you went into these houses in Fairfield, there was like no toilets, no tubs, no nothing.
So they literally gutted them.
They literally gutted them. Yeah, I mean the doors were wide open. So
This reminds me, there's a hospital off of High Street off 161. Do you know about that? In Worthington? It's the old Worthington State Hospital or something like that.
Oh,
And
okay.
So a couple of the buildings they still use them. They're actually like doctor's offices and stuff like that. But there's actually a campus involved in it, and it's all shut down.
Oh, I think
And
I know
all
that one. Yeah.
all the buildings are boarded up. You can't get anything.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like right in like the middle of Columbus, and it's surrounded by all kinds of shit. And
Yeah,
there's
I
doctor's
think I've driven
offices.
by it. Yeah.
And like you can go back there and kind of look around, but you really, I mean, you wouldn't be able to go into anything because everything's boarded up, and on top of that, there's like way too much activity around it for
Yeah.
you to someone not to be like, hey, there's people walking around trespassing.
I think
They
I've
made
driven
sure.
by it.
Yeah. And that place is a nerve. I would love to. I know people have gone inside there, but it's a little more tricky to get inside because again, like the location.
Yeah.
But I would love to go in there.
I
There's
would
a
love
lot
to
of places I'd like to go.
So where else have you been?
Let's see here. So there was a hospital in Cincinnati that we had driven by, but it is in a really rundown part of town. I think it's no longer there. And then
There was one you're talking about was Middletown, Connecticut.
oh yes, Middletown. So I think it was Connecticut Valley Hospital. And we had gone there as well. I think it was one of the same nights we had gone to Norwich. We just kind of kept going and going.
Like a tour.
I know, it's like a tour of Connecticut has so much rich history. It's just amazing, and all these places that were there. And so we've gone to Connecticut Valley, and I do not think we could get into the buildings there because part of it was still up and running. So it's really tricky when like part of it's up and running and part of it's abandoned because there's a lot of eyes all around.
Well, that's like the one I was talking about on 161.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I know people have gone up there and walked around, but again, there's doctor's offices still operating and functioning. And I've actually been inside a couple of those buildings, like the ones that, have been renovated or been kept up with. And it looks old, but there's nothing like wrong with it or weird about it. But yeah.
Oh, this Middletown one looks super creepy, though.
Middletown, Connecticut.
Yeah, this one looks super
What's the
That's
name
where
of-
I was born.
Middletown, Connecticut?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hospital?
Connecticut Valley, I think.
Yeah, that's what I found it under is
Yeah.
Connecticut Valley.
Connecticut Valley. I was born at Middlesex Hospital.
Middletown.
Yeah, this one's just like very creepy looking.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
like
it looks like Yeah.
It's very run down and just it's got.
Dude, it reminds
this,
me of like your typical looks like your typical like haunted hospital from a movie.
Yeah,
reminds me-
yeah. It's very dark and dreary, and like everything's falling apart and everything's peeling. But yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like.
Yeah, it reminds me of One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it totally
yeah.
does.
Yes.
Some of these pictures that people posted. So yeah, we're just literally on Google right now. You could just type in Connecticut Meltdown Valley Hospital, and you could find all the photos.
Yeah, I typed in Connecticut Valley, psychiatric. I can't say it. I typed in Connecticut Valley Hospital, and it changed it. So we'll just say that.
Weird. And then you also mentioned, we talked about the Fairfield Hills Hospital.
Yes.
Okay, and you also went to a bunch of lighthouses.
In Cape Cod, yeah, I did. So, my senior trip with my mom, we went up to Cape Cod and we went to
Your senior trip, like, was this for school? Or?
No, this is just for my mom and I. So our tradition.
It's bonding.
Yes, it's bonding. Yes, our tradition was that Dad would take, I'm the youngest and I have 2 older brothers. So
Gotcha.
Dad would take the older brothers wherever they wanted to go within reason. And then Mom would take me wherever I wanted to go. And my brothers, of course, chose Washington, D.C. And of course, I'm like, well, let's go someplace haunted. And so I chose Cape Cod because there was just a lot of history there too. And my mom had always wanted to go to Cape, like up to the Cape. And I think we went to Provincetown too, which is in Rhode Island. And they have a bunch of lighthouses up there as well. And so we did quite a bit of exploring up there. And all the places were still like open for tours
Right.
and stuff. And so it was just really unique to see all the old lighthouses. And boy, those stairs are brutal.
Yeah.
Because you got to go all the way up, and it was really interesting but nothing happened, but it was really cool to explore, and it was really cool that experience with my mom, that she was encouraging and like, yeah, sure, let's go do this,
I love though it's like Cape Cod, like it's like the best of both worlds. You get some pretty scenery and lighthouses and some honey.
I think
it's the perfect getaway.
One of the cool experiences was we were sitting on the beach and it is dead silent. And you could see
What?
whales. You could just see the
Oh,
whales off in the
wow.
distance. And I will never forget that sound. It was so quiet and so peaceful, but you could just see those whales just up in the water. And it was, I would love to go back there.
So, were all the places, how many, so how long were you there for in Cape Cod to experience all these places?
I think about 2 or 3 nights.
How many did you go to?
Honestly, I can't remember. I graduated in 2005, so I mean it's been a while, but
Okay.
it was quite a bit of them. And my mom loved lighthouses, and my aunt is obsessed with lighthouses. So
And you're saying like this isn't like something like, oh, this is like a lighthouse tour. You guys just naturally figured this out and just
Yeah.
plotted your own like.
yeah, we just plotted. My mom bought me a book that was like haunted Cape Cod or something like that, and I would just go through and read like which ones I wanted to go
So
to.
did you plot it in advance, or did you like get there and find some other ones that were like, I want to go here too?
Yeah. We literally got to Cape Cod. We went to a bookstore. She bought me this book, and I just went through the book and we picked a lighthouse, and they were all self-guided, and so we would just go. I think one of the ones we went to was Cape May. I don't know. That might be in Massachusetts. It might be in Rhode Island. All my lighthouses are all over the place.
Everything just blurs together.
I know. I know I have a shirt that says Cape May Lighthouse.
Okay, so obviously you went to that one.
Yes.
You know you went for that one because you have physical proof of that one.
Yes.
That reminds me of the. You can buy them here in Ohio. It's called Haunted Ohio, and it's literally a road map. And
Yeah.
It's like all these different locations you can go to.
It's in New Jersey.
So we went to New Jersey too.
Or at least one of the first thing I find is Cape May Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did go to New Jersey.
And it's like historic. It's in Jersey.
Yeah, we did go to New Jersey. My cousin was visiting from Ohio, and we had gone to New Jersey. I think she'd always wanted to go to the shore, and so we went to there and everything because the shore is so fabulous. It's really not.
Apparently,
No.
I'm
you
still haven't convinced me.
No,
You should take a trip up to Lake Erie sometime.
I have gone up to
Yeah,
Lake
there's
Erie.
a ton of
I
spots
was
up
gonna
there.
say, yeah, there's a
too.
lot up there. That's somewhere I definitely would like to go as well. There's so many places I'd like to go.
I know. I'm an avid camper, so I love to camp, and so we went up to Lake Erie to camp.
Oh, nice.
And there's a couple places up there that are pretty cool.
I feel like that would be like the last thing I would want to do while looking at haunted stuff. Like go look at haunted stuff all day and then just like, I'm going to go camp now where I'm out in the open is totally vulnerable.
So one of my
Crazy, but I love it.
one of my favorite lines from any movie about hauntings or stuff is actually from The Conjuring. And he talks about like if you go someplace, it's like gum. And it's like you might leave it, but it's gonna come with you. Like that's always been my biggest fear is like you're gonna pick something up and bring it home with
true.
you. So like going camping, I was like,
Yeah, that's like the place I was telling you about in Connecticut, Dudley Town, and I will never go there.
explain. Okay, you have to backtrack. You have to explain that a little bit.
So I actually did my senior term paper. I did it on Dudley Town and how it was this town in Connecticut that was abandoned and it's supposedly cursed. I've never gone and I never will. I'm always afraid, like even if I step foot on the ground and I have dirt on my shoe, that I'm going to bring back something negative or something with me. And I will.
Do you know why it went abandoned? Do you know the story, the history of it at all?
It was I would have to relook it up. It's been a while, but it had something to do with the Dudley brothers and something about his family, I believe, and his wife was killed, and he would just sit there on the porch and rock back and forth and rock back and forth. And something to do with the family that all throughout the Dudley family, they had all these bad things that happened to them.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here
Yeah.
too when I'm reading it is like the family was supposedly cursed.
Cursed with what?
It doesn't specifically say, honestly. It just like it talks about like there's a lot of disappearances.
Yeah.
Like a mass amount of disappearances that trace all the way back to the origins of the town.
Yep.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, they're unexplained. There's no.
There's a place like that in Ohio called Helltown. I think we talked
I'm sorry,
about.
who found it?
You'd found it.
I thought you said I did.
No, I said we found.
Okay.
But you found it.
I found it. It was me.
Okay.
I want my credit.
It was Ashley. Ashley found
was
it, you guys.
me. It was me.
There's a place that Ashley found called Helltown, and it's an abandoned town up in where's it at? It's like near Cleveland.
It's in Summit County.
Oh, it's up nearby Cuyahoga Falls. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've been up. I know there's an abandoned town. I want to say it's like Sabin or Sabina or something, and it's near Cincinnati that I've been to. And literally, if you blink, you miss it.
That's how most abandoned towns are.
I was just gonna say that's like all of Ohio.
Yeah, I know.
Like
Cornfield, haunted house, cornfield.
Pretty much. That's Ohio.
Yep. Oh, you said you went to the powder factory, or
Yeah, I did. I did go to the powder factory.
Did you actually get inside?
No, there was too many people around, and the person that I was dating at the time was like, "No, I'm not into that. Like, I'm not going to go in and get caught and get arrested and such."
Especially in like small towns.
Yeah,
Because like bigger cities, police don't really. They have too much shit to worry
Right,
about.
in a smaller town.
Small
they're
town
gonna be like,
police
Yeah,
are
I mean,
we're so bored.
if you
Yeah.
know anything about Mason is very like hoity-toity, nose up into the air.
Mason,
type
Ohio?
Of, yeah.
Where's that at?
It's towards Cincinnati. It's a
Okay.
very wealthy area. It's actually where my parents live now, but there's like a section. It's where Kings Island is.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
yes,
I know where
exactly.
that's at. That's all you had to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kings Island. Yeah, right.
Not everyone
Kings
knows
Island
where
and
it's
the
at.
beach. Yeah, so it's right there. And the Mason City cops would definitely probably give you a run for your money if you got caught there.
That's how like most of the, like any small town in Ohio, especially, like, and the police. I mean,
Right. We don't have much to do except watch this abandoned
I
house.
mean, Columbus
I know.
police, you kind of have to like, jump in front of their car, get them to stop. But,
Right.
but
Which understandably so.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but like the local townships, oh my god, the cops are bored. You get pulled over by a small township here in Ohio, you're gonna get pulled over by a cop, and 5 minutes later, you're gonna have like 6 cops lined up behind them.
Right.
I was actually coming back when I first moved here. I was coming back from some exploring. I think don't remember which one it was, but I got pulled over by a cop, and he's like, "What are you doing here from Connecticut? And why are you in this state?" And I was like, "I'm lost. I was just
Wow.
exploring."
This is not very welcoming.
Yeah,
I
right?
know. I was like, "I hate this state. I'm moving back."
Be in my state.
I
What
know.
are you doing here?
I'm like, "What do you think
He
I'm
sounds
doing?"
like he has something like personal against Connecticut.
I know, but it was like this. I could not drive, so my car would stick out. I drove a 98 Sebring, and it was beat up. I'd hit a payphone, so my trunk was split down the middle.
Oh my god.
And here goes this little Sebring with all these dents, like driving down this nowhere road in Ohio, and this guy's like, "What are you doing in our state with this beat up car?"
Ghost hunting.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I'm ghost hunting.
Oof.
That's funny.
There's also, have you been up to like Put in Bay area?
Yeah, I've been up there. Yeah,
because they have a huge lighthouse up there too.
yeah,
that
we've been up towards that area. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much. I know there's like some tours and stuff, and I think there's a ghost tour up there. But Put in Bay is such a touristy area now.
We did go
Right.
to like a Civil War cemetery, I think that was up there.
Ooh, I bet that was.
That was really cool. And you can go up there. It's really cool. And just as a side note, I did not realize how close to Canada you are. And so when we
Hop,
got,
skip, and jump.
I know, when I was there and I was like looking at the signs and I looked at my husband and I was like, report immigrants. We're not near Mexico. And he's like, Canada. We're near Canada. I was like, oh.
The nice immigrants, eh?
It's just a nice little trip over the.
Yeah,
over
they're
the-
like, report like any people you see crossing the border. And I was like, the border? Like, this isn't anywhere near
Are
Mexico.
they talking about the Canadians trying to get in? Or are they talking about the Americans
I
trying
think, I
to
think it's more so
escape?
the Americans trying to get out.
I know, right? And so, like, every time we'd be somewhere, I'm like, or if we'd be in the water, like on our boat, I'd be like, are we in Canada yet? And he's like, no. I'm like, but I want to catch people going in and out of the border. Like, I would like to see, like, what are they doing?
Right. How are they going about this?
I know. And I didn't click, but yeah, I didn't
Canada's
realize.
probably staying on the other side with like welcome banners up.
I know. Come here, it's safe here.
Have you ever gone to any other like Civil War like areas?
I've done. So my family is obsessed with Gettysburg. So I've been to Gettysburg
Ooh.
quite a few
I was
times.
hoping you were gonna like bring that up because I've been there too.
Yeah.
Jordan's been there.
Yeah. So my
What's your take on it?
I love it there. So I grew up in Connecticut, but my mom is originally from Cincinnati. And so we would travel to see my grandma all the time. And our halfway point was always Gettysburg. And so we'd always stay at this Holiday Inn in Gettysburg. No, it was Clarion, I think. Yeah. But we loved to stay at Gettysburg and we loved it there. And I remember the first time I went, I was like, I was like, well, where's the battlegrounds? Like, I'm expecting to see like cannons and, everything, being like a 10-year-old
Right,
kid. I'm
right.
like,
You're
where-
thinking that's how it works because you don't realize
you
that's
don't
not how it
realize. I'm
works.
like, well, where are the soldiers and where are the cannons? And so it was really cool. I did do a couple ghost tours in Gettysburg and nothing really came of them, but it was really cool to see like the actual bullet holes, like in the I forget the buildings we went to, but it was really cool. And
Like you can see them in some of the trees.
yeah.
Like I love Gettysburg as well. I've been there 2 or 3 times. I think
I
now.
haven't been there since I was little, and that makes me really sad. I want to go again.
It's really cool. I did do a ghost tour. I went to a schoolhouse that was converted into a brief hospital. And I want to say schoolhouse. I mean, literally, this place was about as big as your house. It's not very big at all. But supposedly I had like all kinds of supernatural experiences. There was a rocking chair, and they're like, "Oh, if you sit in this rocking chair, like something weird happens."
Did you sit in the rocking chair?
I was like, "I'm not sitting in the rocking chair." But the one my brother sat, and he was like, "Yeah, I can feel a little bit of a giraffe too." And I was like, "Yeah." It was like really, really like we got a little certificate for saying that we like went on this ghost tour. That was pretty like hokey and cheesy, but it was fun.
Yeah, the one that we went on, I forget the house, but it had been turned. It was a normal house, and during the Gettysburg battle, it had been turned into like a field hospital.
Yeah.
And you could still see the blood stains on the floor, and in the basement. It was pretty creepy.
See, I feel like if I personally was somewhere like there, it would be really hard for me. Like, I don't think I wouldn't. I feel like I definitely would pick something up there. It'd be
Yeah.
really hard for me.
Well, I told you I stayed in
that
it.
nauseous feeling we've talked
I-
about.
yeah.
Are you like an empath?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, yeah, stuff like that's like, I'll do it, but like, I'm not going to feel good about it at the
Yeah.
time.
So yeah, I've talked about staying at the Civil War house. It was a Civil War hospital, and I was there with like it was actually in South Carolina. And all the kids, my cousins, my brother, and I were like 10, 12, 13 years old. Like my brother and I wanted to sleep in a car. Like we didn't want to sleep inside the building because it was like so creepy and so weird. But yeah, Gettysburg, I got that a little bit too. A couple places I went to. Did you go you visit the battlefields and all that stuff too?
Yep.
The only part of the battlefields that really creeped me out was the wheat field.
Yeah.
The wheat field is and also is the most bloodiest part of the war of the battle.
I feel like that would also be a hard place for me to go then.
Yeah, it was where most of the Irish Brigade met from the north met the south, and most people who met at this wheat field on either side died. And it has not been it's been left untouched ever since the war. So last time
at this point, it's probably just for the best to just keep it untouched.
Last time I was there was literally people there was some kind of paranormal podcast like this, literally sitting out there with a recorder trying to pick stuff up because it is known for all kinds of activity in that area.
Sorry, I'm trying to look. We had gone to sort of off topic. We had gone to a Civil War battleground in West Virginia, in Summersville, West Virginia.
Ooh.
And I have pictures of it that we had gone to in the summer when quarantine was happening. And we're like, well, we can.
What else can you do?
Yeah,
let's go outside.
I
do
feel
something.
I missed that boat. That was been the perfect haunting, exploring.
I could pitch
time.
a tent and have a fire and I'm good. And so we had gone to West Virginia and there was a Civil War battleground and it was pretty unique. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to find pictures of it. It was in Summersville, West Virginia. Carnex Ferry Battlefield.
Carnex Ferry Battlefield?
Yeah, it's CARNIFEX Ferry Battlefield. And that's definitely one of those places again it's very peaceful out there. But we couldn't go into they had some historical buildings you couldn't go in because of COVID and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
One of the coolest things that happened to me when I was in Gettysburg was I was walking over. I think it was the last night I was there, and I was walking. I looked down, and from one of the ghost hunts. So if you're go on a ghost hunt in Gettysburg, they ghost tour, ghost hunt, whatever. They give you a little kit, and in the kit has has a audio recorder, and then you can I think a camera or something like that, and any the SD cards or something like that you can put on if you have a computer, you can put it on your computer or like that. That gives you a radio that you can fine tune, the ones we were looking at online, the Spirit radios. You can try to pick something up.
Yeah.
Not the Tesla version that we're gonna build on a later episode, but the little
coming soon.
Yeah,
it's coming soon. This Tesla Spirit radio, but these are the little electronic ones that would kind of scan, almost like a police scanner. They give you that. One of the cool things they give you was a temperature gun.
Yeah.
So
ooh, I feel like that would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Well, when I was walking on Gettysburg, I found a temperature gun from one of the ghost tours that fell out of someone's bag. So I actually have one of those temperature guns.
Wait, have you used it anywhere? Have you used it anywhere else?
I've only used it in my house, really, to figure out where cold spots are.
Oh, okay.
Not even for spiritual things, more
Yeah.
so just I
feel like that'll be handy though when we test our Tesla thing.
I have a closet in my house that is usually 15 degrees colder than anywhere else in the house. And
Vortex.
Yeah. And I remember it was in the spare bedroom and we would go in there and I'm why is this room colder than all the other rooms? And the room wasn't that cold, but by the window, we'd open up the closet and the closet was always way colder. Figured it out that where our apartment was next door to the way that they would set up. The closet had very little insulation.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it wasn't
that
it
would
had
do
very low insulation from the apartment next door, from the room, and also from outside. So it was the coldest room in the house due to insulation, not due to anything else.
That's how our bedroom closet is. It's an ice freezer in there, and it makes the rest of the bedroom cold. But literally, when you walk into the closet, it's you just walked into a freezer.
Yeah, nothing's living in there. It's just bad insulation.
Right? Yeah. I immediately knew it was just bad insulation.
That's where I was going nope, it's not as cool as it sounds.
Right? No, it's not. It's just bad insulation.
But yeah, Gettysburg was any Civil War battlefield area is always really fascinating.
That stuff always fascinates me.
What's interesting to me is you find it so calming though. All that stuff's so calming.
Is that weird?
I think it's
I don't think
you're asking
weird
the wrong person
necessarily.
To ask about weird.
I don't think that's necessarily.
I would find that more.
Not all the places. It's just some places that are. It's just quiet. When places. Not all the places.
Okay, I get what you're saying about that.
Yeah.
Because like especially in Gettysburg, there's places where like the battlefield, even though it has been untouched since the battle, it felt like a national park. Like
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, cool. I will say the parts that creeped me out the most about Gettysburg was the woods.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like I was walking around at night, kind of near one of the woods, actually by the schoolhouse. We were actually leaving the schoolhouse, and again, nothing eventful happened in the schoolhouse. But as we were leaving, I looked out in the woods, and it was like something is watching us.
Probably.
Like, that's the
Yeah.
feeling I got. I was like, because people have died in those woods, and those woods have not been touched or done anything with since the battle.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of
that's
anger.
I think that that weirded me out more than anything else. Was like I didn't want to go into any of the forests or woods around Gettysburg.
Yeah. There was like some ghost stories that went into the woods, but I never went into the woods. I took pictures of the woods.
Yeah.
Right, we don't go in there.
No.
Yeah, we don't go in there. I just wouldn't.
Forests.
I feel like that'd be the worst place to be. Like the battlefield would be one thing, but the forest I feel like would be
Well,
worse.
it's the forest. Because fought in the forest, that's a lot of where the hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
Went. So that's where like the baronets and stuff. People were like.
That's what I mean by
behind.
I feel like there would be a lot of anger built up in there.
So I feel like the creepiest places though that like are not calming are the cemeteries. Those are just not calming to me.
In general, or the ones in Gettysburg.
Like the one in Lake Erie was the Civil War one was definitely not calming.
We've had like many discussions on this.
Yes, on the cemetery.
Because I find cemeteries calming and relaxing. So you're talking about like being weird. I guess a lot of people would find that really weird. So for me, it's like
I find them calming. I just have to watch where I go. Like there's certain spots I can't go to. So I mean, I guess that depends on the person.
Yeah.
I would.
I also
feel
think
like.
it all depends on what your intentions are going into.
Right,
a graveyard
right.
Cemetery.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go in who have bad experiences are going in because they're
looking for
something. They're going in there being disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing. They're not going in there for like. They're not going in there to pay any type of respects towards anything or anyone in there.
Also, I know people who have experienced a lot of death in their lives, and they just don't like going into cemeteries,
yeah.
which is understandable.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't like that. Would just remind me of
Well,
everything.
it's not a happy place to go to.
Right. I mean, no, it's not. It can be, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Depend on your perspective, but
I would say overall, it's not like the.
Again, I honestly just think that's something that just comes down to like it's just person to person.
Yeah. Like I said, they don't really bother me at all.
Yeah, I've never walked into a cemetery and been like, this cemetery is haunted.
And I don't think I have either.
It's not like scary for me. I just might end up feeling nauseous.
I think my thing is like you can get that feeling of like you're definitely not wanted there.
Right, or that
Yeah,
feeling.
that's-
I've gotten
that's
that
more
feeling
so-
before.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're going into some place, you're not going in there with respect or paying respect. You're just going in there to fuck around. It's
There's
like,
there's actually
like-
a cemetery down the street from my house here, and there's actually like most of the cemetery I'm fine, but there's a spot in there where I just don't go near because that's how I feel. I don't feel like I'm welcome over there.
I think that's why I didn't go into the morgue in Norwich. I just didn't feel comfortable going in. I didn't feel welcome into that particular area.
That's a different thing too.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be afraid, but yeah, if you don't feel welcome, chances are like you're not.
Yeah, I just did not feel. I definitely like. I feel like I'm intuitive on certain things, and that definitely was not a place I wanted to be or should have been.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's important to listen to that too, because if you're not welcome there, then it'd be really disrespectful to go there, and that's when stuff's going to happen that you don't want to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one thing to go somewhere and want to see haunted stuff happen, but it's a whole other thing to go somewhere and see things happen that you don't want to see happen or experience things that you don't want to.
Yeah.
So where are some of your bucket list places you want to visit that you have yet to visit? So
Okay,
far?
well, I guess like the number one place, which I guess is kind of like, I don't know if you guys would think it's like, oh, of course, but why can't I think of the name of it? It's the prison Alcatraz.
Oh, Alcatraz. That would be a good one.
Yes, San Francisco's definitely.
See, I feel like
San Francisco
that's like
in general is
one
just
of
those
those
places I
like
always want
the
to go.
Cecil Hotel, like everyone goes to and everyone's been. But I would really love to go there. I'd really love to go to Alcatraz. I think that would be really cool to go to, and not to experience anything. But I would really like to and I know it's really morbid, but I'd love to see some of the concentration camps over in.
I don't think that's morbid.
You don't?
I think that is kind of in line with the Holocaust Museum they actually have in DC. It's more you want to remember.
Yeah.
You don't want to forget, because to forget that would be to dishonor what happened to those people.
Yeah.
You want to remember that really happened, and there are people who went through that, and I think that's more of like you want to see it because it's more of, to you, it's more of knowing what happened. Like you want to honor their memory.
Yeah, and honoring that. And so I'm 50% Polish and 50% Italian, and I know that there were a lot of Polish people that perished in the Holocaust, and for me it's more of like a history thing,
right?
To understand, kind of what happened there. I mean, I've looked up a lot of places in Ohio, and I think I've gone to quite a few of them that I'd like to do.
You want to go to Helltown with us?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a question? Or is that an invite?
Because that's a potential.
That's our first outing. It's going to be Helltown.
Right,
I would love to go with
outing
you guys.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally
absolutely.
go with you guys.
Deal.
Sweet. Yeah. So not sure when that episode's going to be happening. We're probably, I think our plan is we're going to go there, and I think that's the first time we're actually going to do video.
Yeah. So just like to
okay.
everybody listening, that is a thing we are planning on doing in the future. Is there will be video episodes, or we're not exactly sure how we're gonna do. We haven't panned out the details, but we've talked about it.
Well, so we're
definitely gonna do it.
We're probably gonna do a video of us there. We're probably gonna video stuff while we're there, and then we'll probably do a podcast after the fact and talk about the experience.
And
I
I think when we do our Tulsa thing, I think the plan is we're gonna do
I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure how we're gonna do the Tesla one. I'm excited for the Tesla Spirit
I'm not
Radio.
gonna say anything about that one because I don't know, and I think it's gonna be more exciting to just go into it like we don't know and not telling you guys what we're gonna do.
I'm trying to think of any.
Salem is on my top list.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've been to Salem.
Have you really?
Yes.
I
Oh
think
my God,
for that though, it's not just the haunted aspect for me either. And I'm sure for you too. It's
there's a lot of reasons I would go to Salem.
It's the haunted aspect. It's the
history, man.
Yes.
It's the history. It's kind of honoring a lot of my beliefs too. I feel like that would also be one of those really hard places to be
like as an empath.
Yeah.
So Salem is really cool. And then there's a section to where they have I think it's called Sturbridge Village, which I don't think is part of Salem. But they go back into the 1600s, and you get to experience what life was like back then.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to New Orleans?
No,
Oh
we talked about that, and I would love to. My mom has.
Yeah, that's definitely probably really high up at the top of my list. And again, I think that's too for multiple reasons, not just the hauntings, but
yeah, New Orleans. That was the place I was talking about. Where they would have a for rent sign of our apartment. I remember I was walking around the French Quarter, and one side said haunted, and the other side said not haunted. They had the same phone number, and it said apartment for rent, and it was walking around I have a feeling that sign's legit.
just depends on what kind of living experience you want.
I'm well, you get a free roommate.
Right? Do you want this roommate that's not going to pay any bills? Probably going to annoy you. Do you want him?
New Orleans has this the weirdest energy of anywhere I've ever been, where it just hooks you in and you don't want to leave.
Yeah,
And it's got this really weird energy. You're there and you're just I don't want to leave here. I just want to stay.
I have a couple friends that live down there.
It's the weirdest experience. I don't know how else to describe it. You're just you're walking around and stuff like that. And I remember the entire time I was there, I was I don't want to leave, even though we're kind of seeing everything. We've done everything we wanted to do. The one thing we didn't do that I really want to do was take one of the cemetery tours. But since they've gotten so much more popular, and also after Katrina, they used to be where you can just go in there and just wander around, but now it's you have to go in there, you have to set up a time, you have to go with the tour, you can't just go in there alone and wander around, because that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go.
Speaking of Katrina, though, I was there a week after that happened.
Were you really?
Yes.
Really?
I was.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was. I was there a week after it happened.
In New Orleans?
Not right in New Orleans, but
okay.
we drove through, but I was I was right outside of it. And speaking of being somewhere and being an empath.
Oh no.
And at the time, like I remember I was in my early 20s and I didn't quite realize that I was.
Yeah.
I was kind of at the point in my life where I was just discovering that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I guess I knew I was, but I didn't know like how heavy that could get. And that was also the first time in my life I smelled like what death smelled like.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, tip to anybody out there, if you're an empath and you want to avoid being completely overwhelmed by a stressful and depressing situation, don't go anywhere where a natural disaster has just happened.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a mistake.
Where I grew up, so I grew up on Long Island Sound, and when 9/11 happened, you could see the smoke from our beaches.
Yeah, that's kind of how that was. Like when I was there, we're like going over like the bridges over the rivers and stuff, and there's just boats caught in boats, and cars, and it's just like stuff was just. It was like the most surreal thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was just like, cars on houses, boats in houses. We drove down to the beach houses, like the mansions and stuff.
Yeah.
They're completely demolished. So I think the one that I remember most was there was a lot where the house was completely demolished and all that was left standing was one of those like giant sized safes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, everything else was, and at the time too, because everything had happened so recently, you could drive down there and you could, go on the roads and drive around where the houses were. But as far as walking on the beaches were still closed because they were still pulling dead bodies out of the water.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I can't imagine being down there and being an empath and that's all going, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a rough time. Looking back at it, yeah.
Yikes.
But it was a good experience at the same time.
You should do like a whole episode about empath.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting.
I feel like we probably will. I feel like that will definitely be something that we do. There's just so many options.
Yeah. Also, there's also times where things can just naturally just come up.
Yeah.
Instead of us doing a whole episode about it, we'll just be like, well, this is eventually gonna like
right, the haunted dolls.
Haunted dolls.
I'm gonna bring that up in every episode till it happens.
Do I want? I mean, I heard you guys talk about it in previous episodes.
I just like
every episode we talk about haunted doll.
I want to know. I still have questions.
eBay.
Yeah.
I just want somebody to come on our show that knows about this and like can educate us. Like, why?
You can buy them on eBay.
Right. Why can you buy them? Why is this a market? How do you make the dolls haunted? I have questions. I have so many questions.
Maybe we'll find it. Maybe we'll get a hold of some
I'm just like, I mentioned
sell
it.
them.
Yeah, I mentioned it to be funny, but I also mentioned it because like, I really do want to know.
Maybe it's like the opposite of like if you buy holy water, like, because like holy water is like, it's blessed. Yeah. Are these not blessed dolls?
Yeah, I don't know. Are they the opposite of blessed? Like, are they like cursed? Did somebody curse them? Like, did you have to like coerce a ghost into like the doll somehow?
Maybe it's from like a haunted, like maybe they found it in Norwich.
Maybe they might have found it in Norwich. They might have. Who knows? It might have been dolls that they had hanging out hospitals that they gave to the patients. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Many questions.
I'd be more afraid of like the smallpox.
Right, that too. I would. I think that's. But
like
a serious thing to note, like, while we're talking about going and exploring places, is that if this is something you plan on doing, like, make sure you take the proper safety precautions.
Yes.
Like, wear proper shoes, because that's another thing people don't think of is you could step on something.
You could step on a nail or fall through a ceiling.
Right. You can. I've heard that.
And be careful too.
Also, it says no trespassing. You should not enter.
Yeah,
Right.
and I really
Right.
don't advise that. I was young and stupid, but I mean, they didn't want you in there specifically for liability reasons because of asbestos.
Right.
The
So
walls
also
were
that
falling
was
Well, on
through.
top of
bring
that,
a
too-
mask. Bring a mask. Make sure wherever you go, you bring a mask
Yeah.
because
Well, on top of
there's
the
a
huge-
good chance you're going to breathe something in.
The huge safety risk of, okay, let's say something happens, you get stuck in there. And
Don't go by
then-
yourself, right?
Yeah,
That's the
you
other
get-
thing.
you
Don't
get
go by
s-
yourself.
You get stuck in there, and then now that they send safety team to come out and get you, and that could potentially put someone else at risk because
Yeah.
you were trespassing someplace you shouldn't have been, because now it's like, oh, someone else could get hurt because you were wandering around someplace you shouldn't have been.
Right. So I say too, make sure like you know your stuff. Like don't go anywhere if you know like it's potentially like on its last leg and it's gonna
Yeah.
fall in on you. That's just
Bad
not a
move on
good
my
idea.
part.
But yeah, I mean these are the things that,
Well, you also
we're
went
gonna throw out there.
but then also, like, most of the places you're going to, like the one hospital, like Norwich, I mean, it was shut down only 10 years prior for you going in there.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's shut down
Right.
like 96. You're going
Well,
there too.
some of the buildings.
some of them,
were,
yeah. Some of them were really old, though.
And some, like the hospital, or not the hospital, but the doctors' houses were torn down.
Yeah. I mean, like when I say that though too, I mean like there's much worse places you could have gone where it's like very clearly like if I step on anything, it's probably going to fall apart. Just be smart about what you do if you're gonna do this.
Yeah, be smart about it. Yeah, definitely listen to the signs.
Yes.
Right, that too.
Again, we are
listen
not-
to
we are
the
not-
no, listen to the visual signs and listen to like your inner signs.
Yeah.
Your
too.
inner
if something's
signs, yeah.
saying you're not welcome here, go away. Then go away.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't want to take anything home with you.
Right? Nothing good is gonna come of that. Nothing. So that's also an important thing. I feel like
Yeah, definitely.
nothing's good is gonna come of that.
It's interesting to me how like you just kind of naturally do it. Like how I was naturally like, okay, no, I'm not going into the morgue.
Right, you
Something
know.
there's a red flag somewhere.
Well, most people know. Apparently, some people don't.
Yeah, some people are like screw it, I'm going in anyways.
And,
but
just
yeah.
tell someone, hey, you want to go to a morgue and an abandoned insane asylum? Most people are going to be like, no.
Yeah.
I think that right there would be like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna do something else on my Saturday night. Me, I'll probably be like, maybe.
Right. Like I said, I would.
I think for me, it would have to be like I would have to see how I feel about going into like you said, like you were like, yeah, let's go down there, and you like went down there, and you're like, no, it's not. Too
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that would be like I would do it if somebody was with me, but then if I got there and something was like, you're not welcome here, I'd be like, okay, we're not doing this. We need to get as far away from this location as we can.
Yeah, there was no way I was going into that particular part of the building. It just all red flags. Everything went up.
It makes you wonder what like if something happened down there though.
I would wonder. Well, of course, obviously they're bringing the dead bodies there, but
Right.
know,
But not just that. Was there like some specific event that happened down there?
yeah, and I wondered too, like when they did lobotomies, if that's maybe where they did some of them, because obviously some of them,
Or
perished.
maybe they brought somebody down there who like wasn't quite dead yet, but they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that gave me
my
chills
thought.
down my
That was
spine.
my thought. Like,
Yeah.
because that's how they, that's how people were perceived, sadly,
Yeah.
sometimes. And just was like, maybe they're just like, well, they're not dead yet, but they're going to be. So,
Yeah.
which is sad to say. And
So, do you have any plans on doing any more urban exploring? Or
I'm
is-
old, man. Like I would love to, but I can't bring my kids.
right, I was going to say, I don't think it's so much that you're old. It's just when you get to a certain point in your life.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I can relate to that when you're like, well, I'm a parent now. So
you can't afford to like get
Yeah.
it's not
lost
really
or-
the affording for me either. It's just like, I don't have time.
Right.
I don't have
Well, I mean,
time,
affording
no.
would be a lot of things. You're not just talking about like I'm talking about like you can't afford to like get hurt because it's like if you get like
Right, I guess that's
like-
good. Like you can't afford to get hurt. You can't afford, and that makes sense too because that's also a thing. Like I'm always like, well, I can't afford to put myself in a situation where I might get in some type of legal trouble.
That's
Yeah.
that's the big thing for me is I can't afford, like I have 2 little boys that depend on me, and so I can't like when it comes to like I've been to Mansfield, and so like of course that's right near
Yeah.
here, and so like I've done that type of stuff that's legal, but when it comes to like urban exploring that's technically illegal, I'm afraid that like if I get caught or if I get in trouble, my little boys depend on me.
Right, and that's important. You
Yeah.
got to think about those things.
Yeah. But I mean, if I could relive my experiences, I would do it all over again. It was some of the best times of my life, just, being carefree and exploring, and really the history behind it too. And I loved that my mom was like, oh, I know the history, and this is why it was abandoned. And that's what intrigues me, is why all of these places, like, these people up and vanished. Like, what happened? Like, why did you leave all your stuff? Where did you go? What happened?
Right.
Most of the time, it's just like, especially when it comes to hospitals, they just build a new hospital, usually down the road. And it's just like, okay, everyone just gets transplanted, all the employees, most of the patients get moved, and then they just kind of leave the old one.
Yeah, that's what my mom had told me. It was because of the funding that was cut. And so they would just let these buildings go. And then they would build new ones that were more efficient. Of course, they weren't legally able to hold people as long as they used to. Some of these people were there for decades.
I always think that's kind of interesting, though, that, like, in the United States, that we do that. We just get done with something, we abandon it, we just leave it, and it's just an afterthought, and we don't go back to it. I know there are, and I want to say Japan is one of these countries where if anybody's listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do want to say Japan is one of those countries where if they run into something like that, especially if it's during construction of something, and like that's when you see a lot of that too, of like during construction they lose funding, so it's just done and abandoned.
Half demolished.
Yeah, they come back to it. Yeah. Like there's always that intent of like, it's like, we're not done, this is just a pause.
Yeah.
Of course there's been circumstances obviously where it's like, if you build something on top of ground and you find out this ground isn't structure and stuff sinking into the ground, obviously in that scenario that's different. You're not going to come back to that, because you
right.
Continue to build on that, you're going to endanger people. But
what was I reading someplace where they started to build like $1 million mansions and then they just stopped construction?
Was that Ireland?
It might have been.
Ireland has a whole strip of like really expensive houses that they were building, and then like now they're just all just there, not doing anything.
Neighborhood of $1 million mansions is now an eerie ghost town. Here it is. It's been inside an episode of The Walking Dead.
Oh,
that would be perfect.
Oh,
though.
I know what you're talking about.
So it's an Alberta neighborhood known as Beechwood Estates. Is full of homes that were once worth millions, but after being ravaged by a flood in 2013, it is now a post-apocalyptic ghost town.
Weird.
That's creepy.
So now they just use it for movie sets?
Yeah. Oh, apparently like The Walking Dead and stuff, which would make sense.
Well, I know,
nearly $100 million displaced homeowners for 94 properties.
Yikes.
So it was a flood, I guess.
No, that would explain why it was like abandoned then.
Yeah, that was like what I was saying. One of the reasons you would leave something abandoned, absolutely.
Yeah, like a flood.
Because flood damage can
damage the foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like total neighborhoods. I mean, they're just completely. It would make sense why The Walking Dead would use it, but I also wonder like about black mold and stuff like that too.
Where'd you say it was?
Alberta. I don't know if that's. I don't think that's Canada.
Alberta, Canada?
Well, no, it says Alberta neighborhood in Beechwood Estates. I don't know if that's Canada or the United States. I mean, it keeps saying Alberta, so I would think it would be Alberta, Canada. No, apparently it's in...
I was going to say, from me, I've seen it looks like it's in the United States.
Yeah, it looks like it's in the United States.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's really creepy looking.
It is.
I don't know if it would necessarily be haunted, but it's definitely creepy.
Probably not haunted because nothing was there. It's just
right.
Probably would just give you the heebie-jeebies.
Unless it was like built on some top of something, like poltergeist.
I didn't know.
Maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe that's why it flooded. It was just cursed.
So I live in Pataskala, and I did not know. Well, of course, Pataskala is a really funny sounding, but I didn't know that was like Indian, like sacred ground.
Yeah.
Just about everything over here is.
I had no idea.
So, there's a famous rumor and story about the memorial tournament that happens here.
Yeah.
Because we're in Columbus, the memorial golf tournament happens here. Every Memorial weekend they try to hold the tournament. It rains.
Oh.
So they even have moved the date of the event to a different weekend because it rains.
Guess what?
And it rained. When they moved the date, it rained.
Still rained.
Because it's like supposedly built on a bunch of like Native American land.
Oh.
Coincidence? I think not.
No.
Yeah. Because there's.
I honestly don't think it is though. No.
But I just think that's funny. That's a really funny.
Yeah, I don't think it's
story.
a coincidence. I feel like that's like.
You're stepping on someone's territory.
Right,
Yeah.
and they're letting you know, and
Yeah.
you're not listening. You just want to play your stupid golf.
I will never understand that sport.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Golf.
no.
Okay.
Nope. Not my thing.
So I guess if like some spirits want to rain on that, I'm okay with it.
That's totally fine.
I encourage it. Do it. Do it.
Okay, so on that note, I think we're going to start wrapping up. Once again, you can find all of Crissie's photos on our website, thespookydoor.com, on our blog portion. We'll have all her photos, and we'll have a map of the asylum up on our website as well. Again, you can visit us online, thespookydoor.com. You can email us your own stories or your own personal experiences, or if you would be interested in being a guest on the show, you can email us at info@thespookydoor.com. You can find us on all social media using The Spooky Door. Once again, we want to thank Crissy for being on the show and being
Thank you.
such a
Thanks
fantastic
for having
guest.
us.
Thank you
Or
for-
for me, us. I'm talking about the cat over here.
Same.
Thank you for having me, though. I really appreciate it, you guys.
Of course.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for taking time out of your day to come hang out with us.
And share your stories of urban exploring.
Thank you for sharing your kitties. I love the kitties.
So once again, my name is Jordan. With me as always, Ashley, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Spooky Door.